What's happening, peeps? This is your boy, J-Train83, the Rail Enthusi-Artist. Back at it again with another presentation of one of my personal railfanning stories. So I titled this piece that I did here, I called it Fun Adventures to Dyre. Based on the time that I remember, which was 1998, and I did a lot of railfanning on the Redbird trains. In fact, I did a lot of hardcore railfanning between the late 90s and early 2000s system-wide. So I railfanned pretty much on a lot of the SME cars of the A and B division. So in this illustration you see is a drawing of me at the age of 15 railfanning on an R28 subway car on the number 5 train. As I remembered, some of the R26s, 28s, and some of the R29s with the GE components still had the old school drop sash windows that you could slide down easily just to hear the sounds of the trains, which I enjoyed at the very most. So to get on with the story, so I remember that it was a warm Saturday afternoon back in 1998, me of course at the age of 15, and so I wanted to go out and railfan. I was trying to decide what location I wanted to go to and do my usual railfanning. So I decided, let me just go ahead and head out to the Bronx. So I wanted to, take a ride on a Redbird. And so I did, caught the number 5 train from Brooklyn Bridge, Manhattan, and I decided to just do a trip all the way out from there to Dyre Avenue in the Bronx. So as the Bronx-bound 5 train came in at Brooklyn Bridge City Hall, I boarded the train, and you know how Lexington Avenue line is, it's always going to be, crowded, on the way up from Lower Manhattan going uptown, that's a given. So I didn't really care too much about how crowded it was. I was just, getting on the train and doing my usual thing, just getting on and riding. So as I'm on the Redbird trains, deep in my element and enjoying the sounds of the trains as it's, speeding through Lexington Avenue on the express track, I was pretty much in my element. So I'm pretty sure some passenger who probably noticed me being in my element probably didn't even give a shit about what they thought or how they felt. I was just too busy, deep in my passion, just riding the trains and enjoying the sounds. It's music to my ears. May not be for some, but to me it's something, So the trip is going a little bit further, and the train starts to slowly get a little bit empty as the train comes into 125th Street, because I guess a lot of passengers was needing to get off at that stop so they can transfer over to the 6th to go to the other part of the Bronx, which would be Pelham Bay or Parkchester. Or some probably get off at that stop as well, just to, transfer over and get the number 4. So as the train now departs out of 125th Street, it's still making regular stops. Now we're going into the Bronx. So the train is now no longer running express. It's now a local, in the Bronx all the way to Dyre Avenue. Again, this is on a Saturday. So, the 5 at the time was only going from Bowling Green to Dyre Avenue in the Bronx. So that was how the trains pretty much, traveled. So now we're getting a little bit further now into the Bronx, and as usual, the train is making its regular local stops, and it's connecting with the 2 from 149th Street Grand Concourse all the way to East 180th Street. Now the whole ride I was pretty much staying in the first car by the railfanning window. I know, it's typical former shit, but yeah, I pretty much was doing that like any other railfan would. Ride the older SME cars, you get the nice space of being next to the railfan window to see all the action. When you ride these trains, from back in the days. I mean, it's not like the same as it is, today with most trains nowadays with the full transverse cabs where you can't really see much of anything. So yeah, I stayed mostly at the first car by the railfan window all the way up to East 180th Street. So once the train had got to East 180th Street, that's when the train started to empty out even more, only because I guess the passengers was needing to take the 2 train. So Any rail fan that rides the 2 and the 5 train would be familiar with certain demographics of people and how they take the 2s or the 5s, when they split after just north of East 180th Street. So I'm no longer in the first car, so I kind of like walked, I guess, towards the middle of the train as the train was heading north of East 180th Street towards Dyre Avenue branch. So I walked towards the middle, and I remember being in this one particular car that had the old school drop sash windows. So talk about being a rail fan that was, pretty much in shit of luck. So I had the car to myself, so I opened all the drop sash windows just so I can hear the sounds of the train as it's, running, up the Dyre Avenue branch line. Because you know how Dyre Avenue branch line is. Most of that line is like all rocky ballast on the tracks. So, the trains, they tend to sound a little bit different there. The subway cars with the drop sash windows, they tend to sound much clearer than the subway cars with the picture window designs. That's the ones that you could kind of like pull halfway over, but you don't really hear the sounds much clearer with those types of windows. So trains with the drop sash windows, you get to hear everything. You hear it much better than the trains with the picture windows. So being in that car particularly, I had all the windows open, so it was like a 10-car serenade for me. So I was definitely like in my glory, just hearing the sounds of the trains as it's running on the rocky ballast track beds, just before heading into Gun Hill Road Tillotson Avenue station. So I remember that, and just definitely was deep in my element. I was able to just, act a fool, even though I was by myself. So I got away with doing that anyways whenever I went out rail fanning. Because I honestly, I did a lot of rail fanning alone, so I didn't know too many at the time, like I do as of today. So yeah, that was definitely one of my adventures of rail fanning on the Redbirds back in the days. Again, I have plenty of other stories that I can definitely tell behind some of my rail fanning adventures. I got plenty because I've done a lot of shit as far as traveling goes around the system. With that being said, you guys enjoy the rest of your holiday season. You guys have a great new year. Of course, be on the lookout for my next new drawing video, I should say, to start off for the year 2023. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. You guys be cool, be kind to one another. Have a great one. See you guys on the next one.